Grand Risings, brothers and sisters. This is from the desk of the Emissary. Welcome to the Black News Network, the real voice of Black U.S.A. We're broadcasting about our business from a black perspective. I do not own the rights to the music, but I do own the rights to what I say. Today, our topic is our most precious resource. Our most precious resource has been targeted as the go-to people for the United States of America to gain control or more control over what we are and how we operate. Before we get to going, I want to cover a little bit of our logistics. We have a YouTube page called the Black News Network -BNN, and I would love for you to go there and subscribe to that page, as well as send me a comment and tell me what you're interested in talking about, because I'll do the research, and I'll let you know what I can come up with on a particular subject. All you got to do is name the subject. Secondly, I'm broadcasting live on Facebook as well on the Black News Network, or you can go to Warren Smith Bay and hear what I have to say. I'm going through a book called The 1619 Project, and I ran across something I just want you to know. And I'm going to read just a paragraph, and please forgive me if I mispronounce a word or so. I'm only human. So this is from page 22, and it talks about Dred Scott. So it reads, racist justifications for slavery gained grounds during the mid-19th century. The majority of the Supreme Court enshrined this thinking in the law in its 1857 Dred Scott decision, declaring that black people, whether enslaved or free, came from a slave race. Let me say that again. Black people, whether enslaved or free, came from a slave race. This made them permanently inferior to white people and therefore incompatible with American democracy. Democracy existed for citizens, and the Negro race, the court ruled, was a separate class of people. One the founder had not regarding as a portion of the people or citizens of the government, and who had no right which the white man was bound to respect. Which had no right which the white man was bound to respect. I want to say that one more time. Which had no right which the white man was bound to respect. This belief that black people were not merely enslaved, but a slave race, is the root of the endemic racism we cannot purge from this nation to this day. That was a reading from the 1619 Project, and it does talk about quite a few things that we should know about our history, more especially about how we became to be who we are in America today. Somehow we gotta learn. We gotta learn how to do better with ourselves and how to do better with what we are intending to do in this country called the United States of America. Police have done so much damage to black people in the streets right now that we don't know whether we are going or coming. I mean, how do you feel when you're driving down the street and you see or feel a police car approaching you or coming up behind you? How do you feel? I'm absolutely sure that any black person in America today, that when a police officer, whether that police officer, black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. When they see that black and white or whatever it is pulling up behind them, that an anxiety starts to form in that person's heart. Your heart starts to flutter. And it does that because there has been an instilled fear of the police when it comes to a black person being out on the street in America after dark and even in the daylight. It's almost like America has become a sundown town. America has become a sundown town. In other words, if you're black and you're driving around anywhere in America and a police pulls up by you, you have anxiety because you know and I know that what has happened to our black people on regular traffic stops is not acceptable in our eyes. But yet we don't find a reason to say a single thing about what has happened to our people. We're more concerned with what support we're giving to Ukraine. We're worried about how many tanks we're going to give them. We're worried about that kind of shit. We know that at the beginning of every year, we circle around to February, which is Black History Month. And black is not our nationality, by the way. Black is just a color. You don't hear nobody talking about a yellow history month or a brown history month. But we want to put emphasis on a Black History Month and try and make black people understand that this is where we are. We are a black race. We're not black, y'all. They're not white either. But we use black as an identifier to tell people where we are and what part of the track we live on. And that part of the track is opposite of what the white folks live on. We live on the black side of the tracks. And deep down in the South, back in the day, everybody grew up on one side of the track or another. We never lived on the same side of the track. Blacks lived on one side, whites lived on the other side, and that's just the way it was. We never lived together. It was never a commingled society. And here in our society today, we find ourselves living next to white people, living next to Asian people, living next to Hispanics, living next to anybody we want to live next to. And so that gives us a sense of, yeah, they ain't gonna bother us because we got white people in this neighborhood. Or they ain't gonna bother us because we got Hispanics or we got Asians in this neighborhood. But when it's an all-black neighborhood, there has a tendency to receive neglect from the highest levels. Now, this neglect starts in Washington, D.C. How many of our communities now have a freeway running through them? And you've probably heard the story about Treme, New Orleans, the suburb of Treme, where they ran the highway right down the middle through the book to the business sector of the black community and destroyed hundreds of businesses, hundreds of restaurants, hundreds of stores just to run that freeway. But in all cases, if you go to any major city, you're going to see that that major freeway runs right through the black community. It seemed to have cut the black community in half, shut it down from the progress that it was making, and made it into a new beginning type operation. So it takes hundreds of years to build a community. So black people had built these communities. They had invested hundreds of years into the growth, the development, the maturity of these communities. I mean, people back then, before they started running these highways through there to destroy those communities, had established roots. They had kind of found themselves. Black people were starting to become prosperous and starting to become part of the fabric of this country. But in order to stop that progress, highways started to come through our communities and shut it down. Look at the Bronx, New York. Look at Treme, New Orleans. Look at the east side of San Antonio. Everywhere you go, highways cut our communities in half. It brought in a lot of construction, but none of that construction was of our people. Well, none of it was our people. It was other people coming in, getting paid with government money to build and tear down our shit. But the people that lived there lost everything. The government lowballed them and bought out their properties for pennies on a dollar, and then they didn't give them any of the damn work. But now you hear President Biden coming back talking about the Rebuild America, Build Back Better plan, which there are billions of dollars in this plan for infrastructure, and about 600 billion of those dollars are dedicated to infrastructure that destroyed black communities. Now, again, you destroyed the communities to start with, the federal government did, by running these interstate highways through our communities. And now you're going to go back again and destroy these communities again, trying to fix what you done tore up. And you're going to do it the same damn way. And I'm just, this takes me back to something I want to tell you about. Wheatley Courts had recently been built in the last 8 years, maybe 10 years ago. They tore it all down and rebuilt the entire area over there off Walsham Road. And is it Walters or Walsham? It was right in that area by Fort Sam. They tore down Walters. They tore down Wheatley Court and started to rebuild it. And in the process, the contract for the HUD money stated that 33% of the work would be given to black people. Or no, they didn't say black people. They said minorities. Now, minorities mean Asian. Minorities mean black, mean white. Scottish, they are minorities. Irish minorities. Chinese minorities. All these minorities, Mexicans minorities, even though they're over 1 million people in San Antonio, they're still considered minorities. So by them saying 33% of the contracts had to be minority-led contracts, it meant nobody black was going to get a damn contract. And nobody black did. So when T.C. Calvert decided to fuss about it and give the city a grade based on how many people employed black contractors, everybody received an F. And then everybody received that F. They started going to TC saying, hey, we're sorry we got an F. What can we do to make it better? Well, what they did was they allowed him to hold the meetings in their establishments, the Fair Contracting Coalition, and we still didn't get any fairness on those contracts. Wheatley Court was built by a black contractor out of Ohio. People in San Antonio, black contractors, had no chance of gaining a major foothold on any part of those contracts. And what they do, they say, well, first of all, black people, your paperwork ain't right. So many black companies went out and got their paperwork right. And the only one that I can honestly say, well, I know two. Straight Line Management, which his wife worked in contracting, so she knew how to get those contracts to her husband. And then Jarvis, who had a demolition company, who the city entrusted him to tear down all these properties that they were getting out of the way of Wheatley Court. Well, the little projects. And then they would give little companies like McFarland and McFarland make-ready contracts where you can go in and clean up the place, but you can't put down no molding, you can't put in no toilets, you can't put in no doors, you can't frame no building, you can't do no plumbing, you can't do no electrical work, you can't do the windows, you can't do the roofing, you can't do the framing, but yet you can go in and make ready. That's what they did. They gave you the bullshit last parts of the contract. The very last things to do. The minuscule work was given to the black people, or black contractors. And I, at one point, had tried to work my way into that system, but not being a regular ass kisser and a regular hobnogger, I had no chance. So I went to a Wheatley Courts meeting over at St. Philip's College. There was probably 300 people in there, 80% black, and the other percent was the people who had the money and had control of the money. And the black people wanted to know one thing: how the hell you expect to give a black person a contract when you won't even give them a meeting? You won't meet with anybody. You won't allow nobody to come and talk to you. So now they want to be all open doors and say, come on up to the mic and say what you got to say, and then we'll address it right there. So I got up and went to the mic, and I said, well, I'm a contractor. My paperwork is perfect. I've not had a major contract, but I've had several small contracts. And then one person, David, from San Antonio Housing Authority, who was part of the money that they had to give out, he asked me a question. He said, "Well, how much experience do you have?" And I said, "Well, how do I get the experience when you don't give me any work? You don't give me the contracts." Well, if you don't have $1 million projects under your belt right now, Mr. Smith, then there's no way we can award you the contract. So here it is, another catch-22 with 99% of the black businesses, the black construction contractors in San Antonio. You don't have these $1 million projects under your belt, so you're not going to get a contract with the Wheatley courts. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't get any contract with Wheatley court. Black people worked the bullcrap jobs, the very, very low contractor jobs that was paying $20,000 here, $10,000 there, $35,000 there, but no money, which is no damn money when you get through paying your employees, buying the materials, and supplying the insurances and all the other crap that they had you to do as a contractor. You ended up with no profit. You were in the red still, even though you had a contract with the city. So everybody said, "Well, man, you got to start somewhere." You can feed me that bullshit all you want to. There's 100 people out there that ain't had no damn experience that got $1 million contracts with the city of San Antonio, but they were not black. They were not black. So what they would end up doing is paying off people with these contracts. Ooh, my chair. Anyways, back to the biggest threat in America. The biggest threat in America is people having the anxiety that has been instilled in the black people on the street. Black people know to fear the police. Let me say it again. Black people know to fear the police in the street. So now that the police know that black people know to fear the police in the street, they now have targeted the schools. Not just in Texas, not just in San Antonio, but throughout this country. In South Carolina, over 30,000 children have been arrested by the police in elementary and high school. 30,000 children with police records now in elementary and high school. And when the police get involved, they're going to arrest you and book you as an adult, even though you're a child. Anytime you put the handcuffs on a 12-year-old boy, black kid at that, and you already know disproportionately 75% of all the arrests made in elementary school and high school have been made of African descent children. African descent children. So keep in mind where we're going with this. They've put the fear in the adults because adults will fear a police officer pulling them over, especially if they're traveling at night. So you already got that fear and you're right where they want you to be, afraid of what the police can do to you and get away with it. There's a lot of people that have been made examples by the police. Remember this little kid that just killed a little special needs kid in California, a little 12, 15-year-old boy. 4 officers have been indicted now for the murder of this kid. That's the one they gave that shot to and tried to revive him. They killed that boy. It's unbelievable how unprotecting the protect and serve group of people are supposed to be. They killing more people by accident than they're rescuing. In most places, police kill more people than they save. Most places in this country. I wonder what the statistics are on that. I'd like to look that up myself. So with these police being in the school system, and like I was saying, over 30,000 kids since the year 2000 been arrested in South Carolina alone. And you can quadruple that if you go across the rest of the country. Massachusetts is running second, y'all, with children being arrested in school. Our police are no longer out in the streets, so they didn't accomplish what they wanted to in the streets. So now they are focusing their attention on elementary school and high school. These kids are in school with more issues than just learning disabilities or disciplinary problems. They are being targeted so they can be primed for what they call the school to prison pipeline. They're going to have police officers in kindergarten before it's over with. Kindergarten. Police officers policing kindergarten kids. Now, I'm not saying that the kids are not bad and not lacking discipline. I'm saying to put these police officers in there with guns and badges in an elementary school is a bit overkill. Why are you using these extreme measures to control black kids? Because you're not doing this to white kids. You know, the percentages of white kids going to jail like these baby black kids is totally different. It's way different. We're over-policing our school systems. We're making our children criminals before they even get out of elementary school. They got a record with the city or the state. Now, you can become a ward of the state at birth. And you voluntarily give your child as a ward of the state each time you fill out a birth certificate. That birth certificate gives the state that child as property. As property. And what do you do about it? You can't do nothing about it because you go home now, I brought you into this world, I'm going to take you out. You think you're going to beat your child like you used to do 40 years ago or like they did 40 years ago? Beat the brakes off their ass. It don't happen no more. You hit your child, they call 911, you going to jail for child abuse. How do you get to go to jail for beating your own child? Because you gave the state jurisdiction over that child. So the state now has a birth certificate on that child, and so they have jurisdiction over what you can and cannot do. You thinking you don't think you're going to homeschool your child without you getting permission from the state? You can't do that. You have to get permission from the state to homeschool your child. Because if they don't want you to homeschool your child, they're going to force you to send that child to public school where the police can homeschool that child for you. You can leave alone the history in our schools and not teach our young people about their ancestry. But it doesn't disappear. Just because they're not teaching it in school does not make it go away. What makes it go away is when you don't teach it to your children. It's your responsibility as a parent and an adult to make sure they understand the lineage of your family, the lineage and the plight of black people in America. It's your responsibility to teach them that. They're not going to learn it in school. The one thing that they may learn in school is that Rosa Parks was sitting on the back of the bus. She refused to sit in the back of the bus. Harriet Tubman ran slaves back and forth from the south to the north. You're going to learn little bitty things like that. But you're not going to learn the real history. Why is it that there is no history about black people before the Civil War? What happened before the Civil War with black people? They were slaves. That book, The 1619 Project, talks about it. And there's another section in there where Abraham Lincoln met with pastors and representatives of the black community, free black people, and told them that, well, we already understand that black people are going to always be inferior to the white, so we have $600,000 that we're going to set aside here in Congress to send y'all asses back to wherever y'all want to go, long as you get the hell out of the USA. Yeah, that's what he said. And the black people left that meeting, the black leaders left that meeting with the jaws dropped, unbelieving that they had been invited to the White House to be heard, to be told some shit like that from Abraham Lincoln. That's what happened. Just because they leave our history out of the books doesn't mean we don't know our history. We need to learn more about it, though. But we know much of it, but we need to know it much more. Every year, a group of white men get together and decide what's going to go in the nation's school books. You ever wonder how those school books get to be where they are and what content gets placed in those books? There's a board of people that decide for every grade level what will go into those kids' books. Now it's up to us to decide whether we supplement those books with additional knowledge that our children need to know, but that's what it's up to. And if we don't educate our children about the discipline of being a good student, then that child will eventually become a ward of the state, because they are going to get arrested in elementary school. Because somehow, some way, the teacher going to see them getting in trouble and not the white kid that caused the trouble. And as you know, and I know, when they find black kids doing something that white kids do, the black child is doing it because of disciplinary reasons, and the white child is doing it because of mental health reasons. It should be the other way around. We don't cuss our parents out. Black people don't do that. We don't get away with that. A black parent will go to jail for a child, on a child trying to curse them out. White people let their kid talk to them any kind of damn way, and they get away with it. And they do it at school too, and they get away with it. Black kids say one thing out of line, they got to call the police on them, because ain't no black kid gonna ever disrespect a white person in public and get away with it. That's the problem here in America. We are not authorized to disrespect white people in public and get away with it, because that shows that you're too big for your britches now, and we got to put you back in your place. Which a white man, a black man's rights can never be honored by a white man, according to Michael Huckabee. You know, that was said in that book I just read with the Dred Scott case. We can never have the rights equal to a human being and a citizen in the United States of America. I wonder, has the Dred Scott case been overturned or been set back straight, where it's no longer an issue with them knowing that black people have rights too? The Supreme Court made that ruling. So if the Supreme Court has not overturned that ruling, then that ruling still stands. So who's to say it's not still standing? Check it. Do your research. This is the Black News Network. We're on YouTube, the Black News Network -BNN. Go there and subscribe to the page and tell us something you may like or you may want to hear about the Black News Network or a subject that you may want to cover. We're also on Facebook Live on the Warren Smith Bay. Go on there and like our Facebook page. Leave a comment. Tell me what you hear or what you don't hear, because I'm hoping that some of the information I put out here is something that can help you make it through the week on a more pleasant note and not get caught up in a situation because you know better. And then you should know better than to get into a discussion with an officer who pull you over or who's detained you for any particular reason. You don't have to get into a discussion. You have the right to remain silent. And I suggest you exercise that right, because if you don't, anything you say can and will be used against you. And the more you talk, the more aptability is that you are going to jail or that you're going to get a ticket. So the less you talk, the better off you may be. We all know that January is the month that they had the insurrection in Washington, D.C., and that people are still being charged with that insurrection, going into the Capitol without permission, as they did. Now we find out that it's running rapid in the military ranks. There's a lot of racism in the military too. So don't think it's protected. It's a protected area. You can be discriminated against in the military just like you can be discriminated against in the police department and anywhere else in the city that you work for, in the government that you work for. Everywhere you work and you black, there's a possibility for you to be discriminated against. You have to be wise enough to recognize hate when it's hate. You can also receive this subtle racism that's so trivial, that's so minuscule, that you don't know if it's racism or not. Was that racist, what they just said? If you think it, you feel it, you know it, it is. Stop overlooking this subtle racism that people imply on you, and then they want to make you feel like you're the idiot for bringing it to their attention. You're right. 99% of the time, you're right. Don't allow somebody to talk you out of what it is when I got black friends. I have one black partner. That does not stop you from being a racist because you have a black friend. When you view the truth, you should view the truth as the truth. No, don't automatically assume when somebody says something negative against something you believe in as hate. It's not hate. Do the research, and maybe you can understand why what is being said, because it is the truth. But if you don't take the time to know your history and to know why certain things are being done, you don't know whether it's the truth or not. But because you want to be fitting in the status quo, you're going to automatically come out and say it's racist coming from a black person because a black person said it. I really think you have to pay attention to what black people say before you form your opinion and think that it's a racist comment when it could be just a general comment with racist undertones. And if you looked at why that individual said that, you're probably going to find the same situation and find that it is a racist issue. The San Antonio Police Department got a new program I need to tell you about. It's called the Lights Out program. The Lights Out program is if they stop you for a tail light, or if they stop you for a headlight or a tag light out, they can give you a voucher of up to $250 to go have that light fixed, rather than give you a ticket. Now, if you're being stopped for any of these little things, you need to check and see, or ask the cop, don't y'all have the Lights Out program? Can you give me a voucher rather than a ticket? And they can. But I don't know if it's their opinion, their choice or not, but it's available. I don't know when it's supposed to be implemented, but it's out there. You know, black people have become so successful in most of these major cities. We've become complacent with who we are. We've become comfortable with what we've achieved. We've let our guards down with what's happening to our youth. We've become so established in our communities. We're running for public offices. We're becoming politicians. We're learning how to stand up at the podium and lie. We're becoming very, very educated and thinking that we're better than we're not. We've become wealthy. We've acquired homes and we've acquired properties. We've acquired cars. We've acquired monies. We've acquired all these things that make us think that we are living the American dream. But at the end of the day, when you're pulled over by a police officer and you start to feel that anxiety, you're just exactly what they wanted you to be, a Negro, which is all you are classified as in the United States of America, is a Negro. How can you continue to just act like that's not a significant reason for you to want to find out why are they still calling you Negro when you should have a nationality like any other race that come to this country? Did you know that the Ukrainians are on Social Security, and now they're getting Social Security benefits where they're getting free medical, Medicare. They're getting a check every month, a disability check. This is a total 100% white country, bringing over 200,000 Ukrainians to America, giving them all Social Security. And you got all these people suffering here in America, homeless people that ain't getting nothing. But these people gave a significant contribution to this country at one time or another in their life, but they found that it was nothing there for them, so they gave up. For the black people that are comfortable, complacent, established, educated, rich, once that stuff is gone, you're right back where you started. You're just another Negro. It doesn't change. So take a look back at who you're dealing with and what you're doing to people that are surrounding you when you're not recognizing what you should be doing. Look at what's happening to your children that are in these public school systems where the police are treating them like criminals right now. They're arresting them, taking them to jail and saying, book them, Dano, and putting the cuffs on them and locking them down. They're restraining them. And it won't be long before a police officer kill a youth in school. They're killing them out in the street right now with tasers, like they just killed this guy in Los Angeles. He was part of the Black Lives Matter movement. One of the children. They killed him with a taser. Had him subdued, had him handcuffed, and then they tased him, and he died. They're over policing the last frontier of our culture, and that is the children in school. They've taken it from the streets to the schools, and before long, they're going to be coming into our homes because our children gave them access to our homes. Anytime they arrest a child, they're going to get some type of law that will give them the right to come into our homes to check on that child. That's what they're going to eventually do. Watch. They got the right to arrest your child at school right now. So the next step is to come into your home and check that child welfare, because like I said before, you've given the state ward that child as a ward of the state to the state. You no longer maintain 100% control of your children. You've given that over to the state. Children are more threatened by the police now. How can you learn in fear? If you're in school and you're in fear of the police, are you there to learn anything? You're not going to learn. You're not learning as it is. We're producing more ill-educated black kids now than we did 50 years ago. Kids coming out of high school nowadays don't know nothing. And that's a double negative, or is it a triple negative? Don't know nothing. They don't know because they are not, the atmosphere in the schoolhouse are not conducive for them to learn, so they're not learning. We've had Google to cut over 12,000 jobs recently. We've had Microsoft to cut another 10,000 jobs recently. We've had shootings in Walmart by Walmart employees. We've had Michael Baldwin charged with the discharge of a firearm when somebody had to give that to him. We're over policing our elementary schools. And I am really kind of upset that black parents are not doing more. We have a new election coming up this year too, with District 2 down on the east side of San Antonio, where we do have Jalen Rodriguez running again, who proclaims to be black, but he's not acting in the interest of black people. We have Patrick Jones, who has announced that he's running. I think I saw Laura Thompson, who announced that she's running. So how many people are going to run for this office, and how many times are we going to neglect having a black person represent District 2? We got to get that seat back into the black community. We got to have a real black person running that seat. You know, it has to be. And the only way that's going to happen is, one, we cannot have multiple black people running for District 2. If we have more than 3 black people running for District 2, it gives us the opportunity to say that we need to stop doing what we're doing. We need to stop acting as if these positions belong to us just because we're black, and we need to start working together and consolidating our people so we can consolidate the vote and put the very best person in there. Now, the way we can do that this time around. Last time we had 7 black people running for District 2 council person, and neither one would support the other one, which made it very damn dumb of black people running for a government seat. I don't want to say stupid as stupid is, as stupid does, but that should not have been as dumb as it was. It was a dumb move by 7 black people running for the same damn seat, running against Jalen Rodriguez. And y'all allowed him to win that damn seat because y'all didn't want to work together. So this time around, if it's that many black people running for the District 2 council seat, why would you not meet? Why would you not, all of you not meet and eliminate the ones that are not going to make the cut? Have some community forums at least every other week to eliminate some of these black people that are still in votes and disseminating the votes, so every black person got 300 votes, which ain't shit. So now he won with 898 votes. Ain't that a damn shame? We can try to convince, people can try to convince us that there's nothing wrong, and we can convince ourselves that there's nothing wrong with the way black people are being treated in the city of San Antonio. But as long as you allowing this to happen, why would they not do that? We're not standing up for anything. We're falling for everything. We're not defending ourselves as black people, as a culture of people. We're not defending our neighborhoods, which we don't have any right now. There's no black community in America, in San Antonio. That's what I meant. Where's the black community in San Antonio? There are none. Everybody try to keep saying it's the east side. It ain't the east side no more. The black people have left the east side. We just had Confederate Hero Day a couple of days ago on the 19th. We needed to honor people like Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee. Bullshit. Everybody's day coming up right now because February is Black History Month. Everybody's having holidays now, right before we get to Black History Month. And every time they throw this shit out there, the Holocaust Day, that was all on TV the other day. The Robert E. Lee Day, the Confederate Heroes Day, all of this shit is being thrown up just before Black History Month so they can throw you off of what's supposed to be happening right now. From the 15th of January till, that's when Black History Month really gets started, at the Martin Luther King March. Why would you have a march on the 15th and then we go back to the norm and then jump right back into it on the 1st of February? We need to start celebrating and holding weekly events from the wreath laying ceremony up to the end of February. There should not be a break and squirt in all this other bullshit while Black History Month should be building and perpetuating. But that's what we do. We allow them to hoodwink and bamboozle us on this bullshit all the damn time. In Mississippi, there was a Chinese family fighting against racism. And what they were fighting for is, this should surprise you, they no longer wanted to go to the black school. They wanted to go to the white school. So the Chinese people in Mississippi were fighting to be recognized as white people so they can go to the white schools. And guess what? They won. Chinese people go to the white schools in Mississippi, and you might think I'm sounding like an ancient person talking white schools and black schools, but in Mississippi, it's still going on. There are white high schools, black high schools. Gentry Rams Indianola Academy. White, Gentry Rams, black, high schools. Inverness Elementary School just closed down. Now, who knows where the children are going? They're being bussed out of town to some other elementary school. Who knows? T-Mobile just had a data breach. 37 million people. If you have a T-Mobile phone, you should be getting free credit check, whatever they do, when they breach your information. Because right now, they have 37 million people that's been caught up in this data breach. That's a lot of folks. You know, the United States is still going through a budget analysis. Every year the budget goes up. Every year they want to grandstand and act like they're not going to approve the budget, but they do. And every year they want to give our budgeted money to places like Ukraine. They want the Arab tanks right now, which are $1 trillion tanks. Those $1 trillion tanks, they want them all. They want as many as they can get. But Germany said no, but hell to the no, they're not going to give them the Tiger tanks. So why is it that we're spending all this money in Ukraine? Don't you think that there's a problem with America supporting Ukraine and North Korea supporting Russia in Ukraine, fighting a war? What does that tell you? Why is it we're trying to get drug into a world war in Ukraine over Russian territory? Is Ukraine a democracy, or is Ukraine a communist country? They come into America for a lot of shit. Now, what you don't know is there's about 50,000 soldiers now stationed in Poland. Look at the vicinity of Poland and Ukraine. You know, Ukraine's asking for all this equipment, and the U.S. is obliging by sending all of this equipment to Poland. And in Poland, the American soldiers are training the Ukrainian soldiers on this equipment, and then they're taking it across the border into Ukraine. You don't think that Americans are going to be caught up in this shit a little deeper than they're acting right now? And all Ukraine is doing is begging for more. How many countries are in the United Nations? Is it just America and Germany? What are the other countries doing? Why is it that everything got to come from here at our expense? When America goes into our neighborhoods and destroy us as a community, it's almost like this here little nursery rhyme was made because of what America was doing to black people. It goes like this. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, eating its curves and waves. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. I don't know, do anybody remember that damn thing? I don't. But I know Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and Humpty Dumpty, they tried to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, and they could not put Humpty Dumpty back together again. They can't put us back together. They can only appease the damage that they have done and ask for forgiveness from us. Because the damage that has been done cannot be undone. The slavery that has been done cannot be undone. The torture, the hanging, the killings, the shootings by the police, the arresting of children in schools, none of this cannot be undone. The psychological damage that has been done to the American people is done. Now what do we do to fix it? Money don't fix all problems. You can throw money at it, after money at it, after money at it. It is not going to fix the problem. Is there a solution? Is there a fix? Is there a solution, or is there a fix to what America has done? In America, it's a certain way. Blackness in America defines whiteness. Blackness in this country of the United States of America defines whiteness. In other words, all of everything that defines whiteness is derived from blackness. Blackness defines whiteness in America. Now, as another step, another level, whiteness defines America. Whiteness defines America. So blackness defines whiteness, and whiteness defines America. If you read the Constitution, you see that we have never ever been a full person. We have never ever been fully respected as a citizen in the country of the United States of America. We have never been considered a citizen. We have yet to be considered a full citizen. And because you don't say things, because you don't act out these things, that does not mean your documents don't state these things specifically, that the black person can, the rights of a black man can never be respected as rights of a white man in the country of America. There is no way you can allow our people to continue to not be respected as Americans in this country as we have before. Like I said before, there's no way you can undo what was done in America. There's no way you can undo what the American people did to Black America. But there is a way to recovery. There is a way to healing. There is a way to recognition of equal regularity. This is the Black News Network, the real voice of Black City, USA, bringing you the news from a black perspective. This is from the desk of the Emissary, Brother Warren Smith Bay, bringing you the news from a black perspective. This is the real voice of Black America. I do not own the rights to the music, but I do own the rights to what I say. With this in mind, I want to say thank you for watching the Black News Network. Join me again on Wednesday at 6:30, not 7 p.m. We're moving to 6:30 on Wednesday, every Wednesday, for a preliminary introduction to what we are about to discuss on Sunday. See me Wednesday on YouTube, the Black News Network. Please subscribe. Also see me on Facebook Live. Please like and subscribe.